Piensa en todas las cosas buenas que tú deseas, en todo lo bonito, en todos los sonidos que te hacen reír y bailar y correr por el campo. ¿Qué son?
Allí, quiero ir allí.
Para mí todas las cosas buenas son mi mami.
Papá.
Y mi padre era un mal hombre. Y este lugar es un mal lugar. Pero mi mami y yo sabemos que hay un lugar mejor. Y ahí nos vamos.
What gave you this idea of this girl swallowing fish?
Yeah, wow. I could speak for 6 hours about it. But the conclusion is that I had two images in my head about 6 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, images like if it was a drawing or a painting or a photograph that got stuck in my head. And one was a little girl swallowing a fish, and another one was a little girl lost in the immensity of a mysterious landscape, like a desertic landscape, something like that. And those images could have become a drawing or a painting or something else, but I started to explore them, and through conversations I had with John Tantendowner and his wife, who is a Bolivian pianist who lives in London. We started to talk, and they asked me one day, "Oh, so what are you planning to do next?" And I said, "I don't know, but I have these two images in my head." So I talked about the image, which then became the opening of the movie, of a little girl swallowing a fish and a girl lost in the immensity of a desert. And when I mentioned that, Ana Maria Vera, which is the pianist, the Bolivian woman, said, "Have you thought about Bolivia to set a movie or whatever?" Because I didn't have a story or anything at that point. And they started to show me photographs of Bolivia, which I knew only vaguely, because everybody has images of what Mexico is and Argentina and Brazil, but Bolivia is more mysterious in a way. And I fell in love with what I saw. I didn't have a story, as I said, at that point, but I realized that, wow, that place was giving me those images, those photographs of the landscapes of Bolivia, were giving me a sense of another planet. And then I went to Bolivia, started meeting people there, I started working on a first draft, and 6 years later, we shot the movie. And it was through those two images. And I never work like when I write, I never work like trying to understand the beginning, middle, and end, and a plot or anything like that. I was driven by a feeling. Mm-hmm. So the first draft was very much a stream of consciousness. Mm-hmm. And it became the seed of what became the final draft. Mm-hmm. So it's a movie that is difficult to explain. I mean, if you have to explain it on a basic level, you will say, well, it's a little girl that believes that heaven exists, mm-hmm. and she's in a miserable existence of poverty with her mom and an abusive father, and she decides to, because she's very little, she's only 8 years old, and she imagines that heaven is actually a place that you can reach physically in the middle of the desert. She wants to take her mom into that heaven. Mm-hmm. But that's not really the movie. The movie is about life. It's about a certain sense of what the feminine spirit is, and the journey, and the ultimate questions that never have answer. Never have answers. Why are we here? When you look at the sky, regardless how many science programs you have seen, you still cannot figure it out. Why are we floating here? What's all of that? What is it's all the questions that in a way have created religion. Mm-hmm. Because religion is a way, whatever the religion is, to so explain that afterlife and that this and that the other. So all those elements together that were within me because of my own life experience unfolded in the pages as I was writing them. Mm-hmm. And I was pursuing a sort of universal story. But at no point I knew what the story was until, the pages evolved of the script.
Interesting, because there is one moment I really like in the movie, because there is a huge part of poetry in your movie, and there is this moment where the young girl say you have to just close your eyes, to let the stars vanish, in a sense. So for me, there is a huge part of imagination, like the power of imagination can drive you somewhere in the middle of nowhere.
Absolutely, and this is the movie itself as well, not just the characters. I mean, basically, I'm always concerned about how much can you stretch storytelling, how much can you stretch a movie, like if it was a chewing gum, how much can you stretch it and it still be a movie, still be not just an abstraction, just be something, different and not limiting. Sometimes a plot structure or the sort of things they teach you in university, if you study filmmaking, you have to do this and the other and the resolution and this, blah, blah, blah. It's all bollocks at the end of the day, because what is life? I mean, life is just, we never know. I find funny, with some, myself when I was younger, young people say, oh, I have a plan of life. What plan? You don't know what life is going to throw at you. And I tried to be as sincere as I could with the movie and try to be as emotional as I could with the movie without being embarrassed of going for the heart. And in a, I don't know how to explain it. In a way, it's like a process of distilling. When you're working on a script and then when you're shooting the movie and all the stages in between, you have all this fruit. And the fruit is delicious. You have apple and oranges and whatever it is. But the process is basically to ferment them and then to filter them and turn them into alcohol, into a clear liquid that somehow retains the characteristics of that fruit. And most movies just concentrate in the fruit. I wanted the feeling at the end of some people say, oh, but the movie mixes drama and comedy and this, but that's life. That's the most dramatic moments. I found comedic moments, and not even comedic moments like a slapstick, but more like absurdists,
For me, it also makes me think about movies like Paris, Texas from Wim Wenders, because desert is a place very interesting because you're lost in the desert, but it's also a place for introspection, to think what's deep inside you.
Absolutely. And even more, the deserts, which are unique. And by desert, I mean sand desert, or I mean the salt lakes in Bolivia, and even the jungles in Bolivia. But in some of those spaces, there is not a sound, no insects, nothing. So the only thing you are left with is quiet. And you don't even hear the wind. It's like weird, it's really like a space of the soul. So I found all those elements. I wanted to use all those elements to explain the story rather than be purely based on a paint by numbers plot.
I also wanted to know how much it changed your writing process to be in Bolivia, especially. Like you mentioned after the screening that it was also, for sure, a team project, and Bolivian people have also helped you to find some direction for your story.
Yeah, I mean, the landscapes were there. I just had to interpret them and not fit them into the story, but the story to embrace them, let's say. So that's the landscapes. Now, what I discovered working with the actors is that it's the first time that I wasn't pushing the actors to be the part I imagined. I amended the script constantly and dialogues. And I mean, the scenes were the same, but the tone of the scenes, I amended them on the fly to adapt to the actor rather than the actor adapt to the script, to be able to extract the very best. Now, Bolivia is like an unbelievable place, and the people there are incredibly generous. And the great thing about Bolivia, in a way, is the most limiting one, which is that, which I think I also talked about that they don't have anything filmmaking-wise. They have one place in the entire country where you can get some lights. They have a small group of people that work in the industry, and it's not even an industry because the casting director one day will be the script supervisor the other, or whatever it is, because there is a limited number of Bolivian movies that get made. And that poverty, in a sense, and I was saying poverty in a negative way. I said, if you work in France, in Europe, in America, it's a million places where you can source the stuff, is what it makes them unique, because they can create something incredible out of nothing. And that's, it was understanding that process and becoming Bolivian in my approach in a way.
Okay. And there is also something we can immediately notice, like the young actress is amazing. Like you said, like the shooting and everything took you like many years. How is it like to deal with a young girl with just less than 10 years old and she's growing?
Yeah, we met her when she was 7.
She was 7. Okay.
Yeah, and we interviewed her when she was 7, to see if she could play the part. And what happened was that we found 3 girls in one of our trips to Bolivia from different schools in El Alto, which is an area on top of La Paz, that had potential of being Santa. And they were a little bit older. They were 9, 10. The problem was that when we knew that we were going to be shooting in X amount of months, we interviewed them again to try to find the best one, and they've grown. They were not Santa anymore. And then somebody said, look, there is a little girl that goes to a music school in La Paz called Bolivia Clásica, who, is super talented. Speak with her. But she's 7. So I thought, wow, 7, how am I going to direct a 7-year-old? I have 2 daughters, so I know how they were when they were 7. But but I thought, okay, well, let's have a Zoom. I was in London at the time, and I had a Zoom with her and her mom. They have read the script, and it's a tough script to read in a way, for a kid. And I realized that she was so unbelievably intelligent. And then I realized, okay, she can do it. She's Santa. So the process of working with her was first many conversations about the material, like I would have with an adult. Why does Santa approaches this sequence or this scene or this emotion like this and not like that, etc., etc. So we talked about all the hard scenes in the movie and all the softer ones, everything. And then she assimilated the part. And once that happened, then I just needed to indicate the tone.
Okay.
For example, there is a moment at the beginning that she's looking at a fish in a hat. Yes. And I remember, telling her, just think that you are like an alien and you don't know, you've never seen a fish before.
Okay.
But you don't have any animosity towards the fish or you don't like it either. You're just looking at it, examining it. So I was just giving her the tone and then she would just embrace it and go with it. And the great thing with her was that, with Fernanda Gutierrez Aranda, was that she did everything in the movie because she felt it. She felt it for real. All the tears are real, all the laughter is real, everything is real.
Yeah, because the movie is also dealing with a hard subject, because there is also this journey into how to deal with trauma in a sense. So it's not an easy role to play for a young girl, especially thinking about some death scene.
I mean, there is a moment in the movie, for example, that she has to confront the body after an autopsy of her dead man. And of course, I mean, the woman that was playing the mom, Carla Arana, she was laughing and trying to, make the situation cheerful, even if she was inside a body bag. But Fernanda, the actress, the little girl, she was really frightened. And I said, look, I can try to approach the scene differently. We can do it. I can change it so you are comfortable. Because she didn't want to walk into the set and do it. And she said, no, just give me time. And she was telling me, look, I find really hard to divorce. I know she's an actress. I know she's been made up to look like a dead woman, but I'm thinking of my mom, her real mom, which was with her in the shoot anyway, all the time. And so she was breaking her own barriers and then embracing them and finding the courage in herself to do the scenes. So we were very lucky to have her because she was so brave, basically.
So there is also something we notice immediately. So it's from the young girl perspective, like all this journey. But on the other hand, we can also notice the life of other women in Bolivia, especially. may we say like it's a feminist modern tale in a sense?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I'm not one because I'm a man, to say that it's a feminist tale. But it is a feminist tale. But this is something that, I will need 6 hours to explain that one, but it's to do with my life, with my experiences, with my mother, with my sisters, so it's something that I can see strength in the female character, right, which goes beyond, enters the poetic, it goes beyond heroic. While I see male characters, for me, in my eyes, in my way of writing, I see them as more flawed, as more needing that hope rather than delivering that hope. So I wanted the movie to be focusing on that, on the feminist perspective of the fight of the Bolivian woman. I mean, in fact, there is a group of luchadoras, of fighters, of wrestlers in the movie, which are real. I mean, they exist, and the parts were actually played by luchadoras. And this is a phenomenon that the female wrestling that started not that long ago. I mean, it started like 30 years ago or something like that. And it was because they wanted to reivindicate that they can do exactly the same as men in Bolivia. So they started to start creating these troops of women fighters, and that spirit was something I wanted to capture in the movie.
This fight, it's also a fight against men. Of course.
But
I'm thinking about this scene with the policeman, which is a funny one because they are arguing together, but the policeman is trying to abuse another one, especially.
Yeah, he's trying to be the typical
which is a guy.
Yeah, exactly. But she holds her ground, La Reina, in that scene, and I wanted to represent in different ways that feminine spirit, and it's represented in the way the mom is, which is somebody that is traumatized by life but wants something better, and she doesn't know how to formulate it. In the dance that happens between the mother and the daughter, they're all the time dancing, and that dance has a symbolism about the union, the feminine union of mother and daughter, and the luchadoras and all the female characters in the movie who drive the story in a way.
And Santa may also find some mother of substitution, or sister of substitution.
Yeah,
some woman band in a sense.
Yes, there is a family reunion at the end in a way.
Yeah. And there is also this man in the middle of it. Like it's not like
it's a man that is completely destroyed by life, and he finds and needs something to hold on to. He needs hope,
something to
and
follow.
He doesn't know where to find that hope. It's like somebody that is drowning in a river and sees a piece of wood, so holds to that wood, and that wood is Santa. But they are flawed characters. They don't have the purity that Santa has. The single vision, the single passion, the strength to carry on in that absurd universe that is the movie.
To conclude this interview, I also want to talk about the music. Like the soundtrack is a little bit different than what we could expect, because it's very modern in a sense. How did you find all these musics, like modern musics?
Well, I mean, once I had the first draft of the script, I started a process of deep research.
Okay.
And what happened was, as much with the photography, I spent like 2 years before shooting talking every week with the DOP, trying to understand how we're going to shoot this, how we're going to do it, how this and the other, so that when we are in the set, we can improvise. Because it was a huge amount of things that you will need to see the movie to understand what they are, but a huge amount of things that we went with them rather than fight the problems. We went with the problems, like in a sumo fight. With the music was the same. We had originally just a composer, Dave, who started composing 2 years before.
2 years before the shooting.
Simply ideas, simply thoughts. And then once we shot, we started to work as well with a very important Bolivian composer, who is Sergio Prudencio. And Sergio Prudencio is a specialist in sort of abstract music. He's a conductor, and he specializes in music that is only played with the most obscure Bolivian instruments, indigenous instruments from different parts of Bolivia. So we brought in those two elements. because I needed the more childhood emotional moments, which was being given by Dave, the English composer, but I needed the roots, and that was given by Sergio. But they never composed, neither of them, to the frame. They just gave me music, which then I mixed, I put together, and created the soundtrack.
It's funny in a sense because it's a movie between England, Bolivia, and Spain, like for people involved in the shooting, and some Bolivian woman who just watched a movie at the end of the screening said how deep you found a way to express what Bolivia was, which is, I guess, like a very big compliment for your work.
It's a huge compliment. We played the movie in Bolivia as to friends and cast and crew and some other Bolivian contacts and friends that we have, and they all embraced it. And I was very happy with that. But I think this is because I never tried to do an anthropological movie.
Yeah.
I simply wanted to do a universal story, which was set in a new universe, which happened to be in Bolivia. And the movie is very respectful to the land and the people. So, well, I hope it is. Yes.
So thank you for everything. I hope people will watch your movie when it will be released in France. I think like very, very soon. It's an amazing tale, so you should go. Thank you.
Thank you very much. A real pleasure.
Thank you.
Mira lo que me he encontrado aquí.